Hello, everybody. And today I am going to be teaching you about embodiment secrets. My name is Chen Lizra. I'm the founder of the Power of Somatic Intelligence. And I'm going to teach you about how to embody elegance, intention, and the divine feminine energy so you can feel more powerful and more driven in your life, but with that beautiful, mesmerizing feminine energy. So to get started, let's talk about, not even talk, do the work. When we're doing embodiment work, we're really changing how we carry ourselves, how we stand, how we sit. And that in turn changes how we feel about ourselves, changing the results in our lives. So when we're changing something in our embodiment is the accumulation of all of our experiences, everything that we've experienced and how we carry ourselves. So for example, if I'm standing like this, that communicates that I might be shy or resigned or afraid, or right, it speaks something. But if I'm standing like this says something completely different about my confidence, how I'm showing up in the world. That affects how I'm connecting with people, that affects how I feel about myself. So how we carry ourselves is very important. So to begin with, we want to add elegance to the body. Now, elegance is the possession of ourselves, the quietness of being ourselves. It's the being. It's where mindfulness exists, so that we have more quietness to be with ourselves, to hear inward, and to be present with the people that we love, present in what we do, present with ourselves, right? So to add elegance in the body, there's a couple of tips that we want to make sure that we take on. First off, make sure your back is straight and you're pulling every vertebra up, 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 up. So it's like as if someone took you from the head and pulled you up, and everything becomes longer. The second thing is that we want to pop our chest, and we do this by taking the arms behind our back, pulling down all the way down, so that my chest pops versus, sometimes we see people stand like this. We want to pop the chest, but I'm not losing the stomach. The stomach is in. I'm really holding here very strong, so I've got my core. Some people will need to train to get their muscles stronger to have that kind of control, right? So I'm not going, ugh. I'm making sure that I'm up here, my chest is open, and I can walk around like this, and I can just count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the reason that I'm counting is that I want to make sure that I'm still breathing. Yes, my head is loose. I'm not walking around like this. And I'm breathing. I'm not locking up the breathing. And after a while, when we can hold that, when we can hold the shoulder blades close and hold it from the muscles, I can let go of the arms and I can walk in this elegance. Yes, and still count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, another tip that's really important. When we're standing, some people sometimes tend to fall down and then compensate by pushing your hips in. And you can see that we're kind of getting a weird shape in the body, and you see people stand like this, right? So you want to make sure there's a connection between your upper back and your lower back, right? And if I'm with elegance, I want to make sure that I'm leaning a little in and that the hips go a little bit back and all my weight is on my toes, not in my heels. Yes? That gives me a little bit of intention forward. And with that intention, I look more powerful. If you'll look at the TED Talk that I did, when I'm standing on stage and I'm talking, you'll see me talking and I'm leaning in. And I'm in my elegance, but I'm leaning in. I'm not standing in, leaning back, right? I'm leaning into the situation. So when we lean in, we have more power. We feel more drive. So that's intention. If you want to feel your intention, you can stand on one foot in the front, pull the other one back. Make sure you're in your elegance and lean all the way to the front leg, so you really all the weight is there. I don't have to stand like this. It's like talking to someone, I can stand between 2 legs, but put more weight into it. But just to get that sense, I can stand and feel that, right? So the first thing is to embody your elegance and learn to hold it in your body with intention. We can afterwards use different techniques on how to actually do this while we're walking so that it's implemented. I'm not going to cover that today. Today, we're more about standing, you know, I can stand on one foot, I can stand on the other. If you look from the side, I'm standing on one foot, but I'm standing more forward. You know, even if I'm switching between legs, I'm more forward. I'm not leaning back. Yeah, I'm forward, unless I want to relax, which is also good. Now, when we're sitting, whether that's a man or a woman, when we're sitting, we want to make sure we're not collapsing, meaning a lot of the times you'll see people put their butts forward and then they're leaning like this and then you're collapsing. But if I put my hips back all the way, now that kind of makes me sit with elegance. Now I'm popping my chest also when I'm sitting, and I can sit with legs collapsed, or guys love to sit, you know, with legs open, but you're still in your elegance, right? So when I'm sitting, I try to always sit in my elegance. And then if I need to pick something up, not to pick up by collapsing, but to pick so that I'm leaning from here. That's also very elegant, right? I can lean from here rather than lean from here. So I'm not losing my elegance. If you're sitting in a meeting with somebody and you're leaning a little forward, you've got more power. If I'm leaning back and I'm collapsing, I don't feel as strong if I need to go through negotiations, for example. This is a lot stronger. What do you need? And I feel like I'm in my power. Okay, so this is for sitting compared to standing. Now, I want to give you the next thing, which is, so I demonstrated for you a little bit on how to embody your elegance and intention when you're standing and when you're sitting. Let's see how to add some divine feminine energy to all of this. So first of all, every part of our body has the 𝗝că𝗶හි the divine feminine energy. That's in my head, that's in my knees if I'm moving my knees, that's in my fingers, that's in my wrists, that's every part of the hips. Everything has 𝗝că𝗶හි divine feminine that's really flowy, almost like you're moving in water. Now, let's do some practices so you can start to feel that 𝗝că𝗶හි and learn how to connect with it. We do have that in our Somatic Intelligence Wisdom Academy, a whole program about it if you're interested. Let me show you how to do it. Let's do it to music. So, we are going to start with just moving our head. We can do a simple practice of just standing in my elegance. And I'm going to move the head to the side. And then to the center. To the side. Center. Side. Center. Side. Center. Side. Center. Now, let me give you a couple of tips. So the first tip I want to give you is when someone calls us these days, someone calls my name, like, what? Right? We tend to sharp movements. When we add 𝗝că𝗶හි it's a lot softer. Someone might call me and go, yes. Yeah, it's softer. Now, it doesn't mean that we constantly have to be sensual all the time, yes? But it's when we want to bring the divine feminine doesn't mean slow. We start to practice everything in slow because it's easier for us to connect with the emotions. So I always say less motion and more emotion. So if I'm adding a lot of, you know, it's a lot easier to go 1, 2, 1, 2 in that sense than to move like this, because now I have to bring a lot more feeling into it. And sometimes that can be scary for some people, right? Like we feel more vulnerable to be exposed, or there could be something that we need to heal, and we haven't healed that. So as we are starting to show up with the divine feminine, with the 𝗝că𝗶හි embodied, we find it sometimes hard to express it. We want to move faster and get out of the situation. Then the work is about opening up your heart and releasing what needs to release. It might be pain, it might be sadness, it might be different things, right? So when I'm moving my head, I'm standing in my elegance, I'm standing with my intention, and then I'm moving and I'm coming back. Now, just to show you, I could be moving fast with 𝗝că𝗶හි right? And it's not sharp. That's a different thing. When we're getting harder, we're protective. We're not allowing that vulnerability. And inside of this feminine divine, there's always vulnerability. Okay? So let's do this one more time. Hopefully the little tips I give you. Ready? We're going to stand in our elegance and intention. You can switch to one leg to the other in the middle. And then we're going to go side. Really pay attention when you're moving, if you can go there emotionally or not. Side again. Center. And to the side. And to the center again. Now, here's a little tip as well. We can use the breath to help us. And what do I mean by that? We don't want to sync every motion that we do to breath, because imagine that if you're suddenly going like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, that would be kind of crazy, right? When the motion is fast, you typically sync it within a couple of movements. So it might be like you're moving like this, but you're going, right? If we were moving fast. But when we're doing it in slow, it gives us the time to connect those two where it works. So I might breathe and then stop there. And then breathe in and stop. Or I could also do breathe in one side, breathe out the other way. So for example, and then on the back, and then come back. So let's do that with music for a second. And we go. We breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. One last one. Breathe in. All right. And the same thing we could do to the side, right? So I can practice one side and then practice the other side. And that becomes a little bit different because now we're looking towards the camera. So it's as if I'm looking at someone. So for example, so now yeah, and that adds a little bit of the mystery, a little bit of the seduction as well, because now we're starting to kind of attract, okay? So like 𝗝cie𝗶혜 doesn't mean that I have to attract someone. Those are two different somatic elements that blend into one another, but it doesn't have to be. Now, we've learned how to express our elegance and intention in the body, in standing and in sitting. We've learned a little bit of how to start to connect the divine feminine with breathing, but also to relax and to start to notice the inner journey of the heart, of what's preventing us from expressing the divine feminine, from living from it, what's been wounded inside us that needs healing. And then maybe we need to go and get healing before we can fully express it and live from it, right? I want to do another one. And again, as we're doing this, it's kind of a check-in to see where you are. It might come easy or it might not come at all right now. And that's completely okay wherever you are. So let's do a little bit of work with hands. So as you can see, hands can be really absolutely stunning and gorgeous in how we move. Just, and I can pick up something, such a feminine way. I pick a pen or a piece of cloth or whatever it is. It's really beautiful. Someone said to me once I was lecturing, and someone said to me, I don't want to offend you or anything, but I could really mute you right now and just look at your hands. And I saw that as such a nice compliment, because the divine feminine is absolutely gorgeous when we're moving like this. And a little tip for you to know, this is something that I've noticed really helps, is when we have bracelets, when we have rings, the hands move differently. When we have nothing, it's a different feeling. So I love keeping some jewelry on that helps me with that feeling. So now, if we want to create a beautiful motion in the hand, let's start to learn a little bit of what we do. So first of all, I've got my arm at about 90 degrees and very relaxed, nothing's tense. Yeah, just and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus on the wrist. So the wrist going up and the wrist going down and up and down. And what I'm doing is I'm just putting this hand almost like a little tray, and I'm just letting the wrist go up and down. Now, when I do this with clients, a lot of times you'll see them doing this, up and down and up. It's really extreme in that angle. We don't need that much. Like I said before, less motion, more emotion. When the range is small, we have to slow down. We have to feel more. And that sometimes can be scary for some, and for some it might come super easy. So when I'm doing the motion, I just want to go up and then down. Notice that as I'm changing direction, I'm not snapping. I'm not snap, right? The snap is a fast one. I'm really doing it slowly. So let's do this with music for a second. So we're going to go up. Breathe. Breathe in. And out. Breathe in. And out. In. And out. And let's do the other arm so that we don't neglect one side. Out. Don't forget to breathe out. Good. Well done. Good. So now, we've done just the wrists. And again, you will be checking in and seeing where you are. It comes to you. It doesn't come to you. You feel it's flowing. You feel your heart is so hard. I'm going to give you a tip. Hands are not hard. So if you find your wrist really hard, it's not in the wrist, it's in the heart. So what you have to do is find a way to open up your heart and feel more. This is when we start to do, when people come and work with me and they want to do the divine feminine, they can't go there. We start to do healing sessions to release what is not working well. And then we come back to this, because if not, it's like Teflon. It doesn't stick. We have to have a good emotional foundation where we've healed our wounding. 70% of adults in the modern world today carry trauma. So most people, when they come to this work, carry some kind of trauma, and unless you've done work on it, it might be getting triggered when you're doing this work. So it's very normal to have a reaction to it, okay? Now, the other tip I want to give you is that for this to turn out really mesmerizing, you have to look at your hands and every finger as if they are the most gorgeous thing you've ever seen in your life. And the way you look at it and the way you treat your body is the way it's going to move. So if I look at this and think that these are really fat fingers that are ugly and they've got wrinkles and I can't stand my hands, well, I'm going to move thinking that way, right? Versus I go like, oh, they are divine. They are gorgeous. They are just, ooh. And I already feel like, ooh, releasing endorphins in the body. It makes you feel high. But it's an inner journey to get there, depending on what happened to us. If we were criticized all the time for how our body looks, or if we learned that that we weren't, like someone told us all the time that we didn't look good, or that we were too fat, or that, whatever it was, we might be very critical of ourselves, and even all the way to feeling that our body is disgusting, which you can see sometimes happen, right? So as we're doing this, when we're moving the wrist, I'm going to do the exact thing that I did before, but without someone holding my hand. And what you want to make sure is that you're not snapping. Yeah, that the hand stays as if someone is here and you're just going up and a little bit with the wrist down and up. And it's almost like your hand is straight, kind of pushing in air and up. And it's more the wrist motion, very delicate wrist motion that comes from, again, opening your heart. So let's do this with music. This obviously takes practice. Don't compare yourself to my motion where I've had years of experience where you are. We start with the technique and then we work on it, and we both work on embodying, learning, but also the inner journey that our heart needs to go in our wounding in order to be able to express it, okay? Now, I wanna say something about, and I'll do a tiny bit more with you at the end so that we have some practice together. I want to talk a little bit about men styling versus women styling and explain a couple more things. So first of all, a man has 𝗝că_𝗶H and divine feminine just as much as a woman, because this is something that exists in both men and women. We have feminine energy and masculine energy, right? So when a man moves, there's less of the fingers and more of the hands with the wrist. And it's absolutely stunning when a woman sees a man who's very manly, but is very connected to that divine feminine. It is damn sexy. And when a woman can be very strong and very driven, but then she's very much connected to her divine feminine, that's also very sexy for men. It's very beautiful to see. And it's about learning how to balance between those two, so you find a good balance where you can be strong and driven, but also very feminine and accepting. So for women that want to get that extra, we're not going to do today the finger motion. There's a way to learn how to do the fingers, but I will give you a little tip for styling. So there's different kind of styling, but you could do like a 3-1 for the women. And then later on, when we're doing the movement, that little pinky not being hard, but being soft, can be a really beautiful touch where you can see that it's really pretty if I'm leaving that little bit of by itself, right? So just a little tip. All right, let's do a tiny bit more of this. Oopsie, use it. So again, we started here with the wrist going down. And breathe. Beautiful. And the same we can do without being held. I'm just going to pull this up so you can see my wrist a little bit better. Up and down. Yeah, beautiful. Breathe out. Do a tiny bit together more so that you get to practice a little bit more. You know, when a teacher is doing this with you, there's a transmission. It's not just the technical thing. There's the technical of how we move and then feeling in it, what we're feeling, and allowing ourselves to go to the vulnerability, the sensuality. It's absolutely stunning. Well done. Well done. So just to kind of recap quickly, we added elegance to the body. We added also intention so that we're inward. That gives us more power. So there's the being and doing, the power to go after things. And then we start to learn while we're holding this power, how to connect with the divine feminine energy. We kind of focused on head motion. We focused on hand motion to start, you know, so I can look at something, I can pick something, I can lean from my elegance forward. Something I want to add here that's really important is that elegance and intention are extremely important because they give us a sense of protection. It gives us almost like a container to what we're feeling. So if you can try this by yourself, that if you're, for example, here and you're standing like this, and then you're trying to do the 𝗝cie𝗶ဖိfeel how that feels in your body. But if you're standing up and now you're doing your 𝗝cie𝗶ဖိyou feel a lot stronger. That gives you room for more vulnerability. One of the things that's really important is to learn how to somatically, through the body, express what you want to say. And what do I mean by that? So I love doing this practice with students that I see face to face, and I'll stand and I go like, okay, walk towards me. And they walk in, and then suddenly I stand up, and it's like, and they stop. I go like, why did you stop? It's like, I don't know, I got scared. And I go, okay, what made you feel scared? I don't know. I said, because I changed how I carry myself. So from being very receptive and very soft, I suddenly go into, and you can feel how there's like a stop, right? The way we speak through the body is a lot stronger than using a million words to say it. So when we're holding our body strong, we're already creating a sense of boundary and protection that helps us feel that, and we can learn how to create even a stronger boundary to help us feel that we can tap into this even further and feel like we're secure, we're safe, we're feeling beautiful, and so on. So as you can see, this is very practical in life. The 5 somatic elements really change how you're living life, so that you're changing how you feel about yourself. You're changing, it changes your behavior, it changes the results. We tend, like I said before, we are the accumulation of every experience that we had, and we carry ourselves in such a way. So if I'm seeing someone, for example, standing like this, I know that something happened. Or, you know, someone who's very resigned. When we change it and we put the person into a stronger embodiment, anything that's there that's incomplete is going to come to the surface. And then we have to know what to do with it and how to release it from the body, so we can go into this new shape, this new embodiment, and live from it, which is very, very powerful. So I hope that this was incredibly powerful for you. You've got all the links below if you want to find out more or come and work with me. I'm sending you lots of love, and I hope you got tons out of this lesson. See you in the next one. Bye, everybody.